guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, H.O.A. Busybody destroyed my pool with dangerous chemicals because I didn't let her trespass. Summary. In a neighborhood with the biggest Karen, I decided to build myself a swimming pool. The problem was that my Karen neighbor liked the ideas just as much as I did. She started coming to my property without my permission, swimming with her kids in my backyard. But the moment it all went down, was when I found bleach in the pool and the pump turned off. That's when I went to the police. She had to sell her house to be able to pay the fine, and this way she also lost the kids, her ex-husband getting custody. Summer is a season a lot of us love, but sometimes you need something for the heat. This year I decided to build a swimming pool because I always wanted one, but I never had the time or the money. After 2 weeks, the pool was ready, a beautiful big pool in my yard. It was everything you'll ever need, but, with such good news, someone had to annoy me. My neighbor is the biggest Karen ever, no one around the neighborhood stands for her, and I understand why. She always has something annoying to say. I was in the front yard, mowing the grass when she stopped in front of my house. I saw you build a swimming pool, when can my kids come for a swim? I don't think they can ever come. That's my pool, for my family and my friends. Also, we're not even friends. There are public pools, go there. But we live in the same neighborhood, that means you have to share what you have with your neighbors. That's crazy and untrue. If so, you can build yourself a house in the forest, so you don't have neighbors. I decided to ignore her and keep mowing the grass. She stayed there for another 5 minutes, talking and shouting, but I didn't hear a word, or at least I didn't listen. The next day I woke up late, went to make myself some coffee, and I saw her through the window. My neighbor Karen was swimming with her kids in the swimming pool. I was shocked, lost my breath for a few seconds, and then I ran out. What the hell are you doing on my property? Get out, I shouted. Don't scream in front of the kids. We are almost finished, 10 more minutes and we're out. Get the hell out. She started pulling her children out of the pool, dressing them as slowly as she could. I felt like my heart would run from my chest, I was full of anger. If I ever see you on my property again, I'll make you regret it. Are you threatening me? That's a crime, she said. Entering someone's property without their permission is also a crime. See how dumb you are. A crime is when you kill someone. I just used your pool. Fortunately, she left quickly after that, but I was angry the whole day, always keeping an eye out on the pool. A few days after the incident I had to leave town for work. I was excited because I really wanted to leave home for a few days. No news about the swimming pool in the next few days while I was gone, and that made me happier, and I couldn't wait to go home and swim a little. As I entered the front yard I could hear some voices, but I didn't know if they came from my house or a neighbor. I went into the backyard. My Karen neighbor and her kids, swimming in my pool. Again, I thought I'd lose my temper and go crazy on them. Get out, now. Stop acting like this pool is yours, or this house, or this property. This is all God's, and God loves all of us equally, and I'm sure He would allow me to swim in your pool. All I can do is treat all of you equally, you and your kids. I am going to come near the swimming pool and pull every single one of you out. She got angrier and she finally left. She threatened me and shouted at me about what a bad man I am. Morning came quickly. I guess you sleep better when you're angry, and I finally decided I should take a swim. I prepared a cold drink, towel, and everything else that I needed, and as I went into the backyard, I was shocked. Karen put bleach in my pool, a very big amount, and as I walked around to check it, I also noticed that she also turned off the pump. That was the moment I decided to go to the police and finally press charges against her. When the police came home with me, I showed them the ruined pool and the videos in which I caught her on my security camera. Unfortunately, Karen didn't have to go to jail but just paid a very expensive fine. She sold her house and lost custody of the kids to her ex-husband. She paid the fine with the money she made on the house and then disappeared. I have no idea where she is, but I don't want to know. All I can say is that I'm sure she's an annoying neighbor anywhere she goes. The next story is titled, Old Man Parks His Car in the Middle of the Road. Somehow, I'm at fault? Something bizarre happened to me yesterday. I was pulling into a parking lot when the car in front of me suddenly came to a complete stop in the middle of the lane. Its owner, an older white man, turned it off, got out and started walking into the nearest store in the strip mall. He just parked his car in the middle of the lane. I could have gotten around it if I really tried, but it'd be dangerously close to either his car or other parked cars. I lightly tapped my horn twice at him, seeing as how I was essentially stuck now. He turned around and I rolled my window down and said to him, "That's not a parking space." He dramatically pointed at my car and then did this right this way motion with both hands, sort of aiming at the very narrow path that I guess he thought I should be able to get through. I repeated myself again, "Sir, that's not a parking space. I can't get around you." Him. "Why is it that one of you people every time, just go around?" "So, he's done this before?" Me. "Sir, what are you doing? That's not a parking space. I need you to move." Him. "I need you to mind your own business." Me. "Come on, you can't park there. Please just move your car." At this point his lips were doing that weird shake that old people do when they hang their mouths open. I guess he thought he was being intimidating. He stepped up to my window and yelled. Him. "You wanna make me? Okay, so he's done this before and he's being an aggressive jerk?" Now I've read on here where other people have interacted with older Karens and there's apparently a card that you can play that bypasses this sort of attitude. Me. "Sir, are you okay? Do you know where you are?" Him. "What?" Me. "Are you with someone? Is there someone who's supposed to be helping you today?" Him. "What are you?" Me. "Do you need help? It sounds like you don't know where you are and I'm worried for you. Is there anyone I can call for you to help you?" I think he caught on to me at this point because he switched back from confused to being angry again. Him. "I don't know, is there anyone I can call for you? Is that somehow a threat?" "I don't know." Me. "Sir, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. You just stay right there, and I'll call someone who can come help you. Don't worry, it'll be okay. Just don't move and I'll call for an ambulance." At this point I backed into a parking space that had opened behind me and pulled out my phone. I really was going to call 911, but only because he was too confrontational to be left unattended in public. Of course, as with most bullies, the moment they realize they don't have power over you, he gave up, muttered something, got back in his car and left. On my way out of the lot, I saw that he had miraculously found his way into a parking spot on the other side of the lot. The next story is titled, "Don't Want to Total My Late Model Car? Okay, I warned you. TLDR. Insurance company refused to listen to me and paid 2 times the value of the vehicle for the claim. 2 years ago, I hit a warthog-sized raccoon on my way home from work. I was driving a '09 Suzuki SX4 hatchback. The raccoon did a good bit of body damage to the front bumper and wheel well. The estimate to repair it was $2,200. I giggled at the adjuster when said the insurance company was approving the repair instead of totaling the car. He insisted it was work just under $5,000 so it should be fixed. I told him that having owned the car for a decade, it's a pita to get some parts since Suzuki closed their US business. He insisted. Insurance provided a rental. It ran about $800 per week. Had a rider for a better rental. So, 4 weeks go by. The car isn't repaired. The shop can't find a wheel well to finish the job. Adjuster calls, a bit mad at me that I wasn't pressuring the body shop. I reminded him that I have insurance to make me whole and that's not my job. The repairs were a bit more expensive than anticipated. $2,500 repairs plus COVID cleaning fee $200 equals $2,700 plus $3,200 for the rental. They had now spent more than the alleged value of the car. So no, the adjuster insists the car is drive-able without the wheel well while he finds the part. I offered that was a stupid idea and it's there to protect the engine compartment. He insists. Okay, I drive it. My work is 30 miles away. I drove it through a snowstorm. With no wheel well, the snow was thrown into the engine compartment. Immediately in front of the affected wheel is the battery, fuses and computer. They were all absolutely caked in snow, salt and ice. Now all the dash lights are going off randomly and the car is shutting itself off. I called the adjuster and told him that driving without the wheel well has likely ruined the computer, fuse box and battery. I asked which shop has a contract with them to fix these issues. Big sigh on the other end. Pregnant pause. Wheel, I think we've spent enough on this car. We'll just total you out. It's probably on worth $2,000 so that's what we'll pay you. Ha ha ha. Nope, you said just under 5K. That's what I want. They wrote me a check for about $4,700. All in, I figure they spent about $10,000 on a vehicle worth at best 5K. I would have accepted 3K or less if they offered it originally. The next story is titled, Won't Shift Your Bike? Hope you like it now. TLDR. Guy refused to shift his bike for the building to get painted, it got painted too. This is not my story, but my nonos from many years before I was born. For those wondering, nonno means grandfather in Italian, seems odd to call him anything else. The story. When Nonno came to Australia in the 50s, he worked at a prominent winery in our area. It closed down years ago when I was in diapers. He was the maintenance guy and stonemason. If a building needed to be built or general building upkeep needed to be done, they called on him. He was a one-man crew and liked it that way. One day, his manager, someone who had himself dealt with Nonno's shenanigans, and is another story altogether, asked him to paint a maintenance shed gray. All good. Except one of his friends, a guy called Louis. He found the story funny up until he died, so I used his real name, kept parking his bike up against it. Nonno goes over to Louis and says something to the effect of, I'm going to be painting that sheet on Friday, don't leave your bike there, to which Louis would acknowledge. Every day leading up to Friday, Louis would be reminded, only for Louis to agree and then shoo Nonno away. Friday comes, guess what happened? Yep, bike is there in the same spot, so, Nonno started painting. He painted the shed as well as the side of the bike that was facing out. When he was done, Nonno told his supervisor, who apparently had to sit down for a couple minutes because he thought it was the funniest thing when he saw it. At the end of the day, as everyone is packing up, everyone hears a lot of swearing coming from said maintenance shed, so everyone goes over to see Louis and his test pattern bike. Everyone started laughing, which eventually broke Louis down, who started laughing too. He admitted he was at fault and rode off into the sunset. He still rode that bike to work for a few years after the fact, becoming an unofficial mascot of the winery. The next story is titled, Want me to remove the plants on the edge of my property? Sure. TLDR. Neighbor tells Nonno to remove plants on boundary and calls a surveyor in. Neighbor's vines are on boundary, so Nonno pulled their vines out. Okay, not my story, but it's one of my Nonno. I've posted another one of his stories previously. Also, Nonno is Italian for grandfather, but this entire story happened in Australia in the 90s. My Nonno used to have vines as a hobby up to the mid-90s, but when he started to get older, he stopped tending them so much. He pulled out the ones furthest away from the house and let that regrow into native bushland at the back. The neighbors in behind weren't a fan of this, as they used that land to tend to their grapes and now had to be more careful with their tractor so they didn't hit anything. They complained to Nonno several times, eventually threatening to get a surveyor in and forcing him to prune his property back to that line. He told them to get off his property and slammed the door. Well, said neighbor did get a surveyor in. Wanna know what they found? There was indeed a discrepancy. The last row of vines planted by that neighbor was on Nonno's land all along. Nonno knew this, he just had never been bothered to call in a surveyor as it hadn't been a problem up until now. After the verdict came through, he happily removed the offending plants on the property boundary and the neighbors lost a row of vines. The next story is entitled Man Attacks, Then Blames Me for Long Wait Time. So 2 weeks ago, I was admitted to the ER after having a stroke and finally discharged last Friday, only for my clumsy weeble wobble ass to trip on a rug in the lobby on my way out after being discharged, falling directly on my face and banging up my knee pretty good. What luck, am I right? So now I'm back to using a walker since my leg is still hurting and I can't fully straighten it. Next day, my dad and I head to Walmart because he needed to get something for his car, and I was looking for some multivitamins and nutritional shakes or whatever. We gather up what we need and head to the checkout line. We didn't have much, literally carrying things in our hands. Well, he was. I had my stuff in my walker, but it still wasn't much. 5 of our things in total combined. Surprisingly, the checkout line we were at wasn't full, as one would normally expect, and we were only third in line before we were next. There's a few closed and the furthest ones away didn't have many people either, and the self-checkout lanes were basically empty. There was another cashier next to our lane but was closed, as she was about to go on break. That's when Old Fart comes in. Old Fart comes around with his cart full of whatever and makes his way to the now closed cashier. to which she explains that she was bagging up her last customer and the lane was closed. Old Fart grumbles and mumbles about the lines being too long. But they weren't though, and after looking around to see the other lanes, gets behind me instead. Now, the cashier at our lane was busy making small talk with her coworker, not really paying attention to the customer waiting for the transaction to finish, as they had swiped their card to pay. Old Fart pipes up that he hopes they're having a nice conversation, but not loud enough for the cashier to hear him, but no one really pays attention to him. He sighs loudly, then proceeds to step next to me and asks, "Hey, you mind letting me go ahead?" I'm in a bit of a rush. Again, he has a full cart, whereas my dad and I only have 5 or so things. I respond, "Sorry, but so are we, and we don't have a lot of stuff." "We won't be long." Old Fart decides this isn't an acceptable answer and mumbles, "Duck you," as he steps back behind me. Cashier finally finishes with customer up front, one more to go, and now my dad and I are second in line. As we slowly inch forward, Old Fart pushed his cart forward and hits the back of my legs and shouting, "Move, hurry up." As it's somehow my fault it's taking so long? As mentioned before, I had fallen and was still pretty hurt, so I let out a yelp, and my dad instantly spun around in a panic, as did the cashier and customer in front of us. I turn and glare at Old Fart and his face is turning a shade of red with an angry scowl. Dad yells out, "Hey, the hell's your problem, man, what the duck?" People notice what's going on and put 2 and 2 together. Cashier says, "Sir, if you can't calm down and wait, and causing a disturbance, I'll call security and have you escorted out." Old Fart turns and shoves his cart to the side and steps out of line. "You all take too long anyway," and walks away instead, thinking he's won. Only for us to see him come back for his cart and get in a different, and longer, line as we were leaving the store. What a ride, sheesh. The last story is titled, "Karen wants me to miss my bus to make her nails." Today I had an appointment with my gynecologist because of a lump inside my breast. It's something important, and I have been waiting 3 months. I was waiting for the bus, and when it arrived there were not enough seats for everyone, so the driver said only 7 persons could join and the others should wait for next bus, half hour. I was the number 6, but an old man behind me gave his spot, the last one, to a girl who asked politely, or she would miss her college test. A Karen saw this and came to me, the next in line, when it was nearly my turn to go in and pay, and said, "So?" I answered, "So, what?" Turns out she was expecting me to give my spot to her. I said no. I explained that I can't be late to my doctor, but she said, "I have an appointment for my nails, and this salon is nearly always full. You know, it's a really fancy one, many celebrities go there. So, I can't lose this opportunity. You can book another appointment for your doctor." I didn't bother answering and just went in. She called me a bitch, and that's it. Update. Thanks for people that asked about the lump. I am 95% sure it's nothing to worry about. I will get a test done on the 12th of December, a breast ultrasound. They say I am too young for a mammography. Someone asked me to update when I have the results. I will try. It will take some months to have the result and see the GYN again. I was on a small village bus. There aren't handlers, or however that is called in English, and everyone has to take a sit and put a belt on. On big cities there are the typical big buses where people stand, of course. Not this one. At least 2 persons asked me why I went to a GYN for my breast. One even called me a troll. In my country, Spain, on the annual revision, I made it too. The GYN touches and looks at your breasts too. Someone said in UK they would fire the doctor in that case. For who said I am a troll? I will paste this definition that I found on internet in English. What is an annual gynecologic exam? Whatever your age, an annual GYN exam includes an assessment of your current health status, a breast exam to check for lumps, skin changes, or nipple discharge, a pelvic exam to check your vulva, vagina, cervix, uterus, rectum, and pelvis, including your ovaries, for masses, growths or other abnormalities. There you go XD. Now you know that in some countries things are different, and you shouldn't judge so fast. Thank you for listening.